I want a door-to-door search. If he's found, shoot him on sight.
I need to gather enough troops willing to make a move on Pamela.
We gotta go now!
The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 23 just aired early, and I just watched it, and it's just so... I say this all the time if you watch these Walking Dead videos, but it's so crazy that we're so close to the end of a show that I've loved for so long. But anyway, I just watched Episode 23 titled Family, and in this video, I'm going to give you my first thoughts on it, my first reaction to it, my first overall impressions, and there will be spoilers in this video. I'm not going to do a play-by-play. I'm not going to tell you every single thing that happened. But I'm going to talk about the things that I liked and maybe some things that I disliked. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, go watch it, come back and watch this. And also, obviously, consider subscribing. I do TV show discussions, trailer reactions, that sort of thing. I love The Walking Dead. I love the universe of The Walking Dead, and I talk about it all the time. I have a playlist on this page dedicated to The Walking Dead you should check out. Anyway, let's get into episode 23 titled Family. And I really, really, really enjoyed this episode, and I'm so thankful that I enjoyed this episode, because if you've been following along with me, if you've been coming and watching these videos at the end of each episode this season, you'd know that the past 2, 3, maybe 4 episodes, I was pretty critical. I was pretty negative because it's been quite disappointing to me, honestly. I love The Walking Dead. I've been a fan of it for over a decade, like I said, and I love this show. I just wanted to have a good final season, and it's been lackluster in a lot of ways. But with that being said, I'm just incredibly thankful that I really enjoyed this episode. I talked about stakes a lot in the last episode and how I didn't feel like there was any stakes, and I still stand by that. I still feel like there's not that many stakes. I still feel like there's not nearly as many as there should be, especially with our main characters, especially since we know most of them live because they got spinoffs. But with that being said, I felt the tension this episode. I felt stakes for a lot of characters, thought they would obviously live or the writers wouldn't care to show something dramatic happen to them. It's not the case, and I appreciate that. So some of the biggest shocks this episode, I'm going to get right into it, is Lydia getting bit. I obviously was not expecting that. She gets her arm chopped off. Maybe she'll survive. She's probably going to survive, but really wasn't expecting that. I thought Lydia was just going to kind of be in the background for the whole season and then maybe live happily ever after at the end. Show one shot of her with Elijah sharing an ice cream cone. I don't know. And then the scene near the end, which I really, 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 really liked, and that is Judith being shot by Pamela. Again, really was not expecting that. And again, I do believe that she is going to survive. I think she's going to be a lot like her brother Carl. I think she's going to take a bullet, almost die, but those around her are going to come together and help her live. It was pretty emotional seeing Daryl's reaction to her being shot, seeing her lift her up and carry her, run with her. It mimics, obviously, just like when Rick ran with Carl after Otis shot him. And I really did feel the sense of family in this group when they were running with Judith, and especially near the end when they were being barricaded in and the zombies were coming at them, and we saw all of our main characters, or most of our main characters, fight off those walkers. Like we saw Negan hold back some walkers, obviously Maggie and Princess and everyone, just enough room so Daryl could get through and take off with Judith. I really, really liked it. And I really, really like the position that this puts Daryl in. I'm really excited to see what he does to make sure that she survives, or the emotion that he's going to be put through if she doesn't survive, and the guilt that he's going to feel for allowing her to come anyway, which, by the way, kind of pissed me off. Like when they were in that train station and they got ambushed, which, by the way, great scene. I absolutely love that scene. The action felt intense. It felt like it had a punch. It felt like it had a kick, which I appreciate, and it felt like there was a lot of tension. I really didn't know who was going to die that scene. I honestly thought quite a bit of them could have died. But Rick was the leader of the group up until he left, and one of the first trials, one of the first serious trials that he was put through was when Carl got shot, and he had to try and keep him alive and run with him, and it put him through the ringer emotionally. And it's cool seeing Daryl pretty much in the same exact position this many years later. So to backtrack a little bit, I'm going to talk about more things that I liked. One thing I want to talk about is the train scene, and when all of our main characters were in the train and they were kind of having heart-to-heart conversations. The conversation between Ezekiel and Negan, I liked a lot. It felt a little heavy-handed. It really, really did. It kind of felt like the writers talking down to the audience, not gonna lie. Like it was Ezekiel saying, here's my motivation and my reasoning. And Negan is like, here's my motivation and my reasoning. It really was kind of preachy. But the dialogue and the way that it was performed by the actors wasn't as overdramatic as a lot of speeches and heart-to-heart conversations have been in this show. And I liked it. I thought that it hit just right, even though it did come across a bit talking down to us. And then the conversation between Carol, Daryl, and Judith when they were talking about Carl and Rick, and Daryl said he would tell her all the stories that he knew. I liked that scene as well. Variant walkers are showing up at the Commonwealth, and I really, really like this. I'm so excited to see the variant walkers become part of main hordes of zombies, and I'm really excited to see more of our main characters deal with them, because I've said this in some of my previous videos. Go watch my video on the episode Variant if you haven't already. But in that video, I talk about how variant walkers are needed to make walkers seem scary again, because walkers have been so boring for so long in this universe, that I'm happy that there's finally a version of walkers that seem frightening, that seem like an actual threat. And there's so much shit leading into the last episode. One thing that I'm really happy about is pretty much all of our main characters are together now. Every single character that I can think of is at the Commonwealth. So I really appreciate that going into the last episode. And then obviously there's a lot of mayhem happening. There's going to be Commonwealth people versus our main group of survivors. There's going to be Daryl trying to deal with Judith. And then on top of all of that, you have these new variant walkers climbing up the walls and posing a real threat to our survivors. And I just really hope that the last episode is like an hour and a half, 2 hours long, because there is so much that they have to wrap up for the last episode of a show that lasted over a decade. So I hope that they can wrap up everything in one final season, in one final episode. I mean, it really needs to be a much, much longer episode. If I had to give this episode one critique, it's a critique that I've given a few episodes this season already, and that's that distances don't really seem to be a real thing or matter at all to these characters. And an example of that is Oceanside. Oceanside is quite a ways away from Alexandria. At least we're led to believe that, because when Tara first found Oceanside, she said she was on the road for like 2 weeks, and Oceanside is somewhere on the coast, on the ocean, obviously. And last time we saw Aaron and Jerry and Lydia and those characters, they were right around Oceanside somewhere, and then they walked with a group of walkers all the way to Ohio, like in a very short amount of time. That just doesn't seem believable to me. So yeah, that's my quick and brief thoughts, my first overall reaction to the second to last episode of The Walking Dead, and it's a crazy, crazy feeling. What did you think about the episode? Let me know in the comments. And again, check out that Walking Dead playlist that I have, because I love talking about this universe all the time, and I'm gonna do at least one, maybe 2 videos leading up to the finale that I have planned. Just some side Walking Dead videos, like I'm gonna do a character sort of ranking and like a predictions on who's gonna live and who's gonna die. I'm gonna do those videos very soon. So again, subscribe if you're at all interested in that. And yeah, crazy time, bittersweet. Still not overly satisfied with this final season, though it does have some great moments about it. And I'm thankful that I liked this episode, because after last week, after the week before that, we had 2 options: either have not that good of episodes in the final 2, or have some pretty good episodes in the final 2. And I'm glad that this episode was pretty good. I liked it. Again, thank you for watching, especially if you watched this far.